All right, this is help with 7.1 part B, multiplying and dividing by rational expressions. On these, you basically are treating them just like you do any fraction, where you have to multiply straight across. However, you want to do a little bit of reducing before you do that. So in this case, just like with any fraction, I have a 5 on the bottom, I have a 15 on the top, those can reduce. So I'll take this 5 and cross it off and put a 1 there. 15 crosses off, you put a 3 there. All right, you can do the same thing with your 4 and 16. 1 and 4. But in addition to dealing with the numbers, you can also reduce your variables. Now in this case, I'm kind of out of luck because if you're going to reduce something, there's got to be something on the top with something on the bottom, either directly above or catty corner. But in this case, all my x's are on top and all my y's on the bottom, so there's no reducing with my variables. We'll come across some where we do, but in this case, I'm just going to end up with a 3, and then I've got an x squared times another x is going to be an x cubed. And on the bottom, I'm going to have a 4, and then I have a y times a y squared, which is going to give me a y cubed. And that's what I've got then for multiplying those two rational expressions. Let's try another one. Okay, this time we have a little bit more going on. When you start having trinomials or binomials, you end up having to do some factoring. So that's how we begin this. Starting with this top one, I'm going to factor it. Factors of 18 that add up to 9. I'm going to want a 6 and a 3, both pluses. In the denominator, I can pull out a GCF. I'm going to pull out an n, and then I have an m plus 3 left, times, and then over here I have an n, and on the bottom I have an m plus 6. Now to reduce these fractions, the key thing is when you cross things off, they have to be multiplied. So anytime you have some sort of addition or subtraction, I like to put those around in parentheses, kind of like I did this m plus 6 here. It wasn't in parentheses, but that plus sign groups those together, and I can't really separate those. So I put parentheses around it to help remind me of that. And then I can start crossing off things that are being multiplied. So like right here, this n is being multiplied, so it's free to cross off with this n that's up here. This m plus 6 is being multiplied right in here, so it can cross off with this m plus 6. Well, good grief, I've got this m plus 3 and this m plus 3 that can cross off. Now this doesn't happen all the time, but we get kind of lucky here. You cross everything reduced for us, actually. Now, remember that when you cross things off, you should be putting 1s in their place, and I'd have a 1 there and a 1 there, and all those things that I crossed off. So in the end, when I multiply straight across, I'm just going to end up with a 1 over 1, which is just 1. Okay, not always is everything crossed off and reduced like that, but that's kind of an idea of what you're looking to have happen. Let's try one last one. This time it's division. It works the same way, only when you divide fractions, you change it to multiplying by the reciprocal. So, looking at this one, first thing I'm going to do is factor. So in the top, this looks kind of merged together, but that's a w times a v plus 8v. I'm going to factor out the GCF. On the bottom, I have the trinomial that I'm going to have to factor. So I'm going to have a w and a w. And then my factors are 24. I could go with 6 and 4, or 8 and 3, or 2 and 12. But I want them to add up to 11, so I'm putting in the 8 and 3. Signs are the same. They're both pluses in there. Okay. And then instead of dividing, I'm going to multiply. And I take this fraction and I flip it. So the w plus 3 is now going to be on top, and the v is now on the bottom. Once you have everything factored and you're flipped, now you're ready to just start crossing things off that are being multiplied. So this v that's being multiplied right here can cross off with this v. Now see this w plus 3? Remember what I said, that plus sign kind of groups those together, so maybe put parentheses to remind you. If you're going to cross them off, they got to cross off together. So this w plus 3, this w plus 3, those cross off. Again, w plus 8, w plus 8. Now, I pulled this right off your assignment, so maybe this does happen a little bit more often than what would be normal, but everything crossed off beautifully. That doesn't always happen. All right, and so then I end up with a 1 over 1, or just 1. If I had left on perhaps maybe a quantity up here on the top was left over, you just write your final answer is going to be whatever's left. Maybe you end up with like a W plus 7 over a V or something like that. You know, you would have a, just write what's left over that you were not able to cross off. All right, good luck with that.